FileMakerTraining.tv. My name is Margaret. I'll be your broadcast engineer for today. I'm here with the wonderful Calvin Moseman. Hello, Calvin. How you doing?
Good afternoon. Doing well.
Good. Glad to hear it. We got people kind of drifting in. So we're continuing our FileMaker for Beginners series at the moment. Let me just minimize myself. So today we're doing script parameters and preference tables, day 25. Real quick, if you'd like to support the channel, we have our FM Training annual subscription bundle. Basically, these are 100+ hours of really high energy video content. I recommend it for people who don't like our live stream format. Every once in a while, I'll get like a message going like, man, you guys ramble on forever. Or man, you guys have a lot of questions you're dealing with in between. And that doesn't work for some people. This is where this comes in. This is 100+ hours of really highly animated and very narrow topic content. Basically, all the videos are like 10 to 30 minutes long at the longest. And we cover every topic under the sun. Well, okay. There's a lot of advanced topics in FileMaker that you can really dive deep into. We don't really cover those so much. We cover like server, WebDirect, FileMaker from like the ground of what is FileMaker to like here's how you build a reporting, here's how you do variables, here's how we do scripting. There's a lot of in-depth discussions. So if you're not finding this live stream format be good for you, I highly recommended this. So feel free to pick that up. It helps keep the channel running and going. Welcome everybody. Cool. People are now kind of meandered in, so I can stop spieling and let Calvin do something. Calvin, what are we doing today?
Today we're looking at script parameters. So we'll talk about what is a script parameter and some use cases for what you can do with a script parameter, where maybe where it's a good idea and where it's not such a good idea. And then we'll take a look at some examples in an FM starting point where we're using script parameters. So let's go ahead and I will share my screen. Here we are in FM starting point. So what is a script parameter? When we call a script, we can give it what's called a script parameter, which is like an instructions on how that script should run. If you look at a script, so I'm just going to grab one at random, we don't see where the script parameter is defined in the script itself. Sometimes we can put it in comments, but the script parameter is defined not in the script itself, but where the script is called. So if I go into layout mode, and in most cases in FM starting point, you'll see we don't really use script parameters. Here we have a spot that says optional script parameter. And you can type anything in here. You can just say hello and put whatever you want in that script parameter. Now in this case, because go to accounts doesn't reference the script parameter, that script parameter isn't really doing anything or really changing how this script works. But the script parameter is a way that you can pass information to the script that tells the script a little bit of changes the behavior of the script based on where the script's called. So you could have the same script that is called a number of different places, and it performs a little bit different action based on what the parameter is. So let's see an example of something we might do with this. Let's go ahead and go to contacts. And maybe we talked yesterday about sometimes we don't want people to be able to see our toolbar. So maybe we have to make their own toolbar. So let's go ahead and what we'll do here is make a nice little toolbar. We'll have an arrow, a few different arrows here. And I don't think there's a double arrow, is there? So what we'll do, so what I want this button bar to do is the arrows on the end, the bigger arrow, the bolder arrows, I want them to go to the first and last records. And the middle two arrows, I want them to go to the previous and next records. And so this could take 4 different scripts to do. Well, I don't want to do 4 different scripts. I just want one script. It's a simple action. We should be able to just have one script handle all of that. We can do that with script parameters. So let's go ahead and I'm going to open up the script workspace. We'll create a new script and we'll call this one go to record. And here I'll give it a, so one thing I like to do in my scripts is give some instructions or some notes, some comments to tell what's going on. And we're just going to say this navigates to records based on the parameter. I like to say where it's called by. And here I'm just going to say anywhere. It's modular. And now here, I also want to put in the script parameter. Now, the script parameter here, it doesn't actually define what's going to happen. It just tells me what tells the developer who might see this later what the different options are. And so I'll say my options are first, last, previous, and next. Okay. So now I'll actually write the script. So all of this that I did at the top, these are just comments, notes. They don't actually do perform any actions. They're just good to have there for reference. And especially when you get into using script parameters, you want to comment what the script parameter options are, or kind of give an explanation of what format they should be in, so that when somebody comes in behind you as a developer and sees the script, it's a little more obvious what is going on here. So how do we tell what the script parameter is for a given script? There's a function called get script parameter, and this will give the result of whatever parameter we passed to it, passed to the script. So I'm going to say if the script parameter equals first, then I'll say go to record first. Else, now I'm going to do else if, and I'll just copy this, paste it here. Else if it equals last, we'll just duplicate this, move it down. We'll duplicate this. Command D will duplicate lines here. So I want to say this one will be last. This one will be previous. This one will be next. We got to make these match. Previous and next. Okay. So now that we have our script set up, we've got 4 different actions based on 4 different parameters, but it's all one script. So let's go ahead and set up our button here. And I'm going to say perform script. We'll grab our go to record. And here's our optional script parameter here. And I'm going to type in here first. Let's go to the next button. Same thing, perform script, grab go to record, and I'm going to say previous. Okay, go to the next button, perform script. We'll grab go to record, and we're going to say this is next. Select the next button, perform script. Optional script parameter is going to be last. And we got to select go to record. Sometimes what I like to do on my record name here, let's go back over here, let's go to record. And now this won't work unless there is a parameter. So I'll say it needs a parameter. So that way I know this one doesn't work just by itself. You could put a final else if or else. So if all of those else fail, then we can say we can have a different action. Let's just actually do show custom dialog and say message no record defined. So we didn't define which record to go to. Okay, let's go ahead and try it out. So I'm going to try next first. And so you'll notice that it goes to the next record. I can try previous, first, last. Now let's go open up the script debugger and see how this worked. We're seeing that the buttons are working, which is pretty great, but we're not seeing exactly how. So let's go ahead and let's show my toolbar so we know what record we're on. So I just selected the second button, which is the previous. So you'll see here, perform script, go to record parameter, and then the parameter is defined as previous. So you'll see right there when we call the script, we can tell what the parameter is. So here we see go to record parameter. That's the record. That's the script name. And then we see what the script parameter is here, previous. So it skips over first, last. Now previous is true. So it goes to this step and takes us to that previous record. And there it went. Let's do that again. Goes to the previous record. Now we're at record 11. I'll just finish playing this. Go to record first. Jump to the first record. And now the rest are done. So this is, we could have easily, and this is pretty a basic setup for this, but we could have set up 4 different scripts here and easily done it that way. But this way we can consolidate it into one script. So we have one script doing, we're not clogging up or messing up our script list with a bunch of really basic scripts that we don't need. And also, if we have another action that we want to perform in here, say you want to have a log of every time somebody makes an action or performs one of these actions, then we can track that and set that up in one place versus having to set that up in a whole bunch of places. So this was a real quick demo on one way we can use script parameters to, and probably the most basic way that we would use script parameters in a script. Do we have any questions at this point for this?
If a script is calling another script, will the other script remember the script parameter?
Great question. The answer is no. So the script parameters are only active for that current script. So let's go ahead and try this out. Instead of doing show custom dialog, I'm going to say perform script. And we will say, actually, let's put this at the end, perform script. And I'm just going to make this a real basic custom dialog. Show custom dialog. And the only dialog here is going to be get script parameter. Okay. So remove that one. So here we want to say custom dialog. Okay. So here it's going to call that custom dialog and show what the script parameter was. So here, let's go ahead and open up our data viewer and say get script parameter monitor. So we see it's next right now. It gets to next. Now it performs that action. And now we're going to go custom dialog, and that get script parameter disappeared. We'll go ahead and do the action. It's empty. There's nothing there. Now, if I do the same thing, let's go ahead and copy this. And we'll just have the action right there. And the show custom dialog in the parent script. Go to next. Here, you'll see it's next. And we say show custom dialog next. So the subscripts don't have the same script parameter. So what's a good workaround to get so that the subscripts know what that script parameter would be? Well, when you call a subscript, or when you say perform script within a script, look, we have a parameter option. So we can add a script parameter to this one. It could be a different script parameter, or we can say get script parameter. And now it's going to have the same script parameter as the parent script. So it's passing that script parameter on. Let's go ahead and try that out. So now we'll see, I did previous, it goes to the previous record. We see previous right here. And here, we're going to call the subscript custom dialog. And we'll see custom dialog, and there's our script parameter previous, and it's going to show that custom dialog previous. So the subscripts do not keep the script parameter, but you can pass the script. It can have its own script parameter, and you can pass the current scripts or the parent scripts parameter using get script parameter in the subscript parameter option. Good question. Any other questions?
What is called by anywhere is modular in the script comment. So basically, what do you mean by a modular script?
Yeah, good. What do I mean by modular? It means that it's not. One thing we like to say in FileMaker is context is king. Where a script takes place is really important. And what I'm saying is that there's no context. Modular means you can move it from one place to another. So watch this. I will take this button bar right here and copy it and just kind of move it maybe right there. Okay, copy it. Oh, copy it. Go to browse mode. Now I'm going to go to accounts, paste it in there. Go to estimates. It's got something. Go to invoices, paste it in there. Browse, go to projects, paste it in there. Go to products, paste it in there. It's interesting that estimates is the only one with this task list. I'm not sure why. I'm going to go ahead and just remove that, since nowhere else has it. For layout mode, paste. Okay. So what I meant by modular is that this script will work anywhere. Oops. So it's telling me that script result. Let's go ahead and just disable this. I know what it's doing. So here I moved it to a different table. I built it in accounts, but I moved it to contacts and it still works. I moved in estimates, it would work, but we only have one record in here. Invoices, it works here as well. No context, or it doesn't, it's modular. I can use it in the same place or in any place, and it still works as long as there's a found set. And so pretty cool. So one thing that we really like about using script parameters is it gives you the ability to have more modular scripts. Instead of having 4 scripts, or instead of in the demo that I showed, I only have 1. And instead of having one script that works, sometimes we might have a script that we have to write for accounts, contacts, estimates, invoices, projects, products, and have a script that does something similar in each one, but with a script parameter, we can make it so only one script is required to do all of that work. So that's what I mean by anywhere. You can put it on any layout and it will work. If it was referencing the accounts table, it would only work in accounts. So I would like to tell it where that button is on the accounts table. Does that answer the question?
They're typing. So yes. So basically he said it's like context independent.
Yes, exactly. Context independent. This was a real basic option or thing that we showed how this works. But what's something that we could do that would be a little more interesting, or something else that we might do? So let's go over here to the contacts list. And so we'll notice here that each different parameter is specified in the script. So I did put in here script parameters. These are the options, but it's pretty obvious if you can read through this what the options are, if you have some kind of basic knowledge of this stuff. So what I want to do now is do something that's a little less obvious in how that script parameter is working. So I'm going to say find by status. So here, my purpose is find contacts by status. And here, because this is not going to be modular, I'm going to say it's called by the contact list layout filter buttons. and the script parameter status. So here, what we'll do is we will go to, we'll say set variable. Actually, we'll spell this out a little more. We'll go enter find mode, turn the pause off, set field, and we will set the field of the status. We'll set the field with the get script parameter, and then we'll say perform find. That's it. So now let's go ahead and we'll put a nice button bar here. You don't have to use a button bar if you're going to use parameters. It's just in these demos, that's what I like. So we're going to use a toggle. I'm going to say active. Actually, let's do this. Let's go browse mode. We'll just copy this script, this one right here. Delete that, just paste it right here. Now, this is interesting. We don't have these labels are defined by a value list. So let me do something. What I'll do first, I'm just going to save this over here. But to begin with, I'm going to say active, inactive, and disregard. And instead of single step, I'm going to say perform script, find by status, and here I'm going to type disregard. Same here, perform script, find by status, inactive. Here, perform script, find by status, active. Browse. Okay, so now when I select this, it does the filter based on that script parameter. So watch this. I select inactive. Now it doesn't have an if here to say, okay, if inactive, set the status with inactive. Instead, it's just grabbing that script parameter. We see the script parameter is inactive. It sets it with inactive, perform find. There's our inactive people. Here's our active people. Here's our people to disregard. And so this way, you'll see that instead of having, sometimes you might see a similar setup where they have three different scripts. One performs a find and explicitly says active. One explicitly says inactive. One explicitly says disregard. And then they might have a script name called find the active records. In FM starting point, I am pretty sure we have, yeah, right here. So in here, in accounts, we have a perform find, set the field with active, and perform that find. So the FM starting point is doing something like this. It only has one filter option to show the active, but you could easily customize that to show any of these options. And what's cool about this is those options could change. So if we're not limited by here, there's only 4 options for script parameters. In the case of this find by status, that you could have a button defined with any status, and it would work as long as that status exists. Do we have any questions or comments about this particular setup for the script parameter?
Not this particular setup, but how do you pass more than one parameter?
Oh, good question. So I'm going to talk about one other thing, and then we'll go to multiple parameters. So the next thing I wanted to look at here is this setup here. So here you'll see calculation. So that means that this is not defined by the value isn't defined by something that's hard-coded like what I had previously, the active, inactive, disregard. It's defined by a calculation. Now, the cool thing about script parameters is you don't actually have to use it doesn't have to be something like first, last, or something explicit and hard-coded, you could put in a calculation to define that script parameter. So in this case, I'm giving it the same script parameter that the label has. Let's go ahead and do this for all of these. Perform find status, here, paste. Now we want to set this to number 2. Okay. And perform script, find by status. And I can just paste this calculation in here. It recognizes that's a calculation. Okay. So now I've got the 3 here. And if I click on these, so something that didn't go quite right here. Let's go see what happened. We'll say continue. So disregard. And so here you'll see that it doesn't, the script parameter is a dash. So I didn't check my value list first. So instead of number 3, so what we'll notice here in the label, it's probably number 4. Yeah, number 4. And here, I'm going to say number 4. Now it should work. So active, inactive, disregard. So you'll see that so this is based on a calculation, not a hard-coded value. And if we go to that value list and change it, so let's go to File, Manage, Value Lists. I think this is under Contact, Category Custom. No, it'd be Status, Custom. There we go. So say we want a new status in here. We'll say ignore. Say OK. Now I can just add a new option here. Copy, paste this in. Obviously we want number 5. Form script, find, put the number 5 in here. And it's just a little wider. Browse. Now we've got another option in here. Obviously nobody here is ignore. If we do a new one, can I type into here? Let me just stick this status on here. So now we have somebody that matches that ignore. You saw the value ignore show up here. So now we can do a filter, and there's our ignore record. So, so this makes it really flexible if you want to add things without having to write another script for that parameter. Are there any questions about using a calculation for a script parameter?
Kind of related. If you can use calculations for script parameters, can you pass containers through script parameters? Like
Good
images.
question. Can you? So the way that you would do that, I don't know that it's practical. I've tried. So what you would you would need to, so there's a way that you can grab a container, and I'll show you this just real quick. So what you would need to do is, so we got a container right here. It's called contact container photo. And I think what you can do is there's a base 64 encode. And then you can grab that container photo and you can encode it. And that's pretty long. And then you can use basic and pass it this in a parameter. And then you can use the base 64 decode to grab that image back, to regenerate that image. I'm trying to think of a way that I've tried to have processes that used past containers as the parameter. And I don't think it really it works as elegantly as we would hope. But yeah, if you find a demo that works nicely that way, I would be very interested to see it. I've messed around a lot with that one. Good question.
Okay, I think we're good otherwise. So
okay. So the next thing I wanted to look at is passing multiple parameters. So you'll notice in the options, so anywhere where we reference a script, there's a parameter option. So here is actually perfect illustration of this. So here we have a script parameter, and here we're using a list. So sometimes what we'll do is use a list of values to pass multiple parameters. So what that allows us to do is select different items in the list. So you'll see here what the script is doing is it's getting the first value and then getting the second value so that it's not it makes it a little more flexible. Now this is not, it's interesting that we're doing that here because I don't see that making this any more optimized. But so right now I'm on a Mac. So this FaceTime thing would work, this FaceTime feature. But what if you're not on a Mac? What if you have two different people who are working on two different machines? One's a PC, one's a Mac. One uses maybe WhatsApp, and other person's using FaceTime or Zoom. So you could have each person have their own preference of how to have this URL set up, so that everybody on the Macs have FaceTime, everybody on a PC uses Zoom, and have that defined in that setup based on who is currently logged in. And so that would give you two different parameters. Now, in this case, we're just referencing both parameters in the same calculation, which seems a little bit overkill because we're putting together two things that are separate. But in the case where we would be using different options, if you wanted to customize it, that would be useful. So the first way you can do that is using the list. And I'm afraid that this one's doing the same thing. Yep. And this probably isn't. Yeah, it's just passing the website. So what you can do is, and let's just set up a demo script for this. And we'll just call this one multiple parameters. And what I'll say, the purpose, multiple parameters, and so if there are multiple parameters and we want to use a list, we definitely want to put in here the script parameter. And I like to be really explicit about what this should look like. So we will say list, and then we want that first line to be maybe first name for whatever this is going to do, last name, and then maybe category. And then we have to end this. So that's what we want it to look like. Now, do we have what could be does anyone see the big problem with using this feature? So if anyone wants to type that in while I keep working on this, let me know if somebody sees the problem.
Yes.
So I'll say set variable, and I'll say first name, and we'll say get value, and then get script parameter. And so that's our list of values. We'll do number one. So we'll duplicate that. We'll say to last, and category is 3. Okay, so what our problem is going to be is if this does not come over correctly. So let's say we go into here, and we're going to use this. We're just going to use this to go to layout. So we're going to have our script parameters. We're going to go to layout, invoices. We're going to create a new record. And then we're going to set fields. We're going to do It's invoices 12. Yep. Bill to, so we have a bill to first, bill to last, and is there a the category? So we'll stick the category in the notes. Okay. And now here we'll say first name, last name, and category. Okay. So this actually is using the list isn't a bad way to do it. It's just what we would call fragile. So it's going to break if something isn't quite right. So here, we'll put it on estimates. We're going to say our new button is just so much better than the old button. We're going to call this one the super new estimate button with parameters. Is that button name long enough for anybody? I think this is an awesome button. Okay, so here we go. We're going to jump over to estimates. And what's going to happen, does anyone see the problem that's going to happen here? Let's see what's going to happen. So here you'll notice we didn't define our script parameter. Now we got to define our script parameter. Obviously, it's not going to work. So what I'll do here is go to my script. And what I like to do is just copy my script parameter that I defined here in the notes. So I really like being able to just copy this and then paste it right into here. So this is going to work. I disabled the script parameter, so it's not going to mess anything up. And now I can just fill in my details like this and category. So there we go. So now I've got my script parameter. Jump back to estimates, open the script debugger, and what's going to happen? Now we see we've got a script parameter here, and did I not assign it to my new script? I didn't. Okay, so multiple parameters. Okay, third time's the charm. Jump to estimates, create our new script. And so here it saves. Let's go ahead and look at our data viewer. And can we already see what's happened here? It's going to go to our estimate invoices, create a new record. And now it sets the first name. It sets the last name. And it didn't put anything in the category. And so what happened was I was missing one line, because if we jump back over to contacts, we'll see they didn't put the last name in the last name field. So if somebody, for some reason, I don't know if anybody else has people that put in the data improperly. Am I the only person with that? So here, now we have the first and last name in one field, and it's kind of messed up our setup. Now, if you had the ID in there, and the ID went into the wrong field, it would not be connected right and lead to other problems and just causes some frustration. So what are some other options? You can use JSON to pass in a JSON object and parse that out and set variables from those. Another way that I like to do it, you can see in the FM starting point, is with the log. I think this is the only place we're using an FM starting point, but it's this custom function that, here it is, audit log by parameters. Instead of having just a list, we're defining each variable that we're going to set by the, with the value that we want to give it. Now, in this case, we have we're calling a script to create a log record. And this doesn't have a context because it opens a new window, navigates to the log table, and then creates that new record and then sets all of those fields based on the script parameter, which these variables were generated from this set variable command, where it assigns those variables from our script parameter, which is really powerful. and saves a lot of space and time. So this is my preferred technique for passing multiple variables or multiple script parameters into a script. Do we have any questions about using the list? You can also, in the list, obviously, it's just we're using carriage returns to separate our values, but you could use any character to separate your values. You could use a bar, a comma. The carriage return is just really handy because of the get value function in FileMaker. And do we want to dig a little deeper into this multiple script parameter?
Sure. Why not?
Okay, so this is this was specifically designed for an audit log. And what's nice about this is we're calling on the server, and we're saying perform script on server, which this isn't hosted on server, so it's not going to use this. And we're using get script parameter so that it's passing the script parameter that we gave to it. But we can create any number of call this script any number of places and give it information. So let's go ahead and go to maybe the let's add it to a navigation script. So let's go to navigation, and we'll say go to contacts. And here at the end, we're going to say perform script. And we're going to grab that script, the log, and I think it was audit log by parameters. And now what I'm going to do, because I've saved that audit log by parameters, was it 0956? Because I've saved that parameter right here, I can just drop it into here, and it sets up my the setup here. So here, what do we want to call this? Here on the description, I'm going to say get count name, and we'll say opened layout, and we'll say get layout name, and we'll make it real fancy and end with a period. Okay, and we can actually, so here it's also going to get the script number, the application version, persistent ID, action. I'll call this one script. Say table is get layout table name. Okay, so I've got, oh, I need a quote right there. And these things we don't care about. We'll leave everything else. And here, we're not tracking the time elapsed, so I'll just remove that. I can say run, and I have an extra thing here. I'll just delete this line. If I just delete this line, okay. Of course, something's not going to be happy with me here. Let's try this one. There we go. So now, when I open the accounts, let's go ahead and just open it. Now it ran, and I don't think we saw that. So let's go ahead and open up our log and see if we can find that out. So let's open up our audit log. And now you see admin opened layout, and there's the layout name. And we've got a timestamp on this as well. So let's see how this worked. We'll go back to contacts. And you could do this for modifications or whatever you want. I'm going to put a flag here, just press play. Now we step into this script, and you'll see here we have a long script parameter. It doesn't even display all there. If I open up this and watch and get script parameter and evaluate, here's our script parameter. And we've got these variables defined and what we want them to equal. And we have all of these options. We've got the description, the script number, other information as well. I'm just going to say monitor. And so it goes through this. Now it's not going to be able to run on the server, but it would run on the server if that were available. And now this set variable, we're going to say assign get script parameter. And what that does is it uses an evaluate to generate those variables from the script parameter. So you'll see there's only global variables. As soon as I say set variable, now we have all of these variables here. Really handy. It opens a new window to the audit log in a blank layout that's just for scripting. And it creates a new record. And then saves a session ID if that's empty. And then goes through and sets all of these fields. And you'll see those fields get set. And so those were all set. Now it's going to close that action window and exit script. And it's exiting the script with a session ID in case we want to track that log ID that we started with. And that is so, and that's pretty much how I would handle sending multiple variables in to a subscript. Now, if we go over here, we can see now there's another new record. Admin opened the same layout 1 minute later. And for every script, there's also the ability to have a script result, which is kind of like you give parameters to a script and telling it what to do, and then sometimes we want a result back, and that result is can be achieved with the get script result. You'll notice here we are exiting the script with an ID, so that's what we want as the script result. But that could be true, false, or any other calculation or data you want to put in there. Do we have any follow-up questions on using multiple script parameters or ways to pass multiple script parameters?
Would you use this over a JSON script parameter?
So so the only reason that I have not switched to using JSON yet, which I should probably try it out, is that I believe the JSON parameters are case sensitive, while this one is not. And so that just makes it a little simpler. And it makes it a little more fragile. So that's why I haven't done that yet. But it's something I need to try out a little more.
Oh, here's a question. I want to enable a script parameter for a script that triggers when the layout opens. How do I do that?
Oh, good question. So anywhere where we reference scripts, we can define a parameter. So if you go into the layout setup, script triggers, so on layout enter right here, there's an optional script parameter area right there. You can tell it whatever you want and pass a script parameter that way. So right in that script trigger setup, you can define the script parameter. If we right click on one of these and say script triggers, there's an optional script parameter for that script trigger. If you reference a script in the custom menus, let's go to custom menus. I'll find one of these that references a script, and maybe these don't. But if we create one and say action, perform script, we have an optional script parameter option here as well. So anywhere where we reference a script, that optional script parameter will be there. And it's been there the whole time, or it's been there for a long time at least. And if you don't use it, you might not realize that it's there. But once you use it, and once you realize it's there and start using it, it's invaluable. You'll start using script parameters all the time. And it really helps speed up development and allows us to reuse some of those scripts in multiple places. Modular scripts all depend, or most modular scripts depend on script parameters.
I think, could this be used to follow your steps back, like an error log?
Like an error log? Like steps back like navigation, or steps back like tracking audits or error? So I guess the answer is yes. So the if we I have a demo that tracks your navigation in a window, and I believe that uses it must use script parameters to track that. And but you could, if you're tracking error logs, you could also use that for use the script for an error log. So sometimes what I'll do in scripting, especially if I'm doing SASE scripting, I will use this script, this exact script right here, and have it referenced every couple lines, every time that there's a major action or any action in that SASE script, so that I can get a log saying what the server was doing. And so you would see, oh, there was an error here on line whatever with this script, and so that would help me then debug a server process that's not running on my machine, or the one that I can't necessarily perfectly duplicate because the server is going to run a little different than my machine. So yes, you could use this for errors. One thing you can also do is say if get last error does not equal 0. So 0 means it worked correctly. Not 0 means there was an error. You could say error and then get last error. And then you would see who performed that at what time and be able to hopefully debug what was going on right there. So yeah, this can definitely be for error logging. Good question. Any other questions?
Yes. How would you handle a list in your script parameter when you use multiple script parameters? So like variable description is a single line, but variable action is a list of multiple values.
Yeah, so that's one of those places where that list option is going to break. Now this one here, this option here, you can put paragraphs in between or in here. You can put a list of items and it will still work. So we can go ahead and try that. On my description, I'm just going to say list, and I'll just put a few things in here. So get account name, get username, get layout name. Okay, so that's pretty much going to give us everything that we want, but in a list. So let's see what happens. Oh, you know what? Why am I doing it here? This doesn't make any sense. We need to put it in this one right here. This is the one that's going to control it. Okay. And of course, I didn't type something in quite right. Telling me that this one's not right. Oh, there we go. I just need another one right there. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. So now when we navigate here, created that log, and we go back to our log, and we'll see that came in as a list. So that's out. So we've got the account name, username, and the layout that was viewed. So that's why I like to use the assign feature, because it handles lists and larger amounts of data. Good question. Any more questions?
I think we're good, actually.
Thank you so much for talking about script parameters with me. One of my favorite topics.
The amount the script parameters could do. Thank you everyone for coming. I hope you'll have a lovely day. We will be back here tomorrow for, what's tomorrow's topic? I'm just going to do the schedule real fast. Tomorrow's topic is conditional formatting and visibility. So we'll do that. All right. I'm going to share my screen, and you all are going to hopefully have a lovely day, evening, or morning. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.
Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir.